Yesterday we heard about Palo Alto, San Francisco, cool stuff, you know. Okay, they have Silicon Valley over there, but in Malta now we have Silicon Valletta, and it's kind of cool. You're gonna see. So a few months ago, some of us started meeting because we realized that a piece of the ecosystem was missing, and we decided, actually with the two guys that were just here, and Benjamin Carlotti, my business partner, we decided that we're going to launch a club for the CEOs, especially in the digital sector. Because digital is rising in Malta, and it's key that we start communicating all together, that we start building the brand Digital Malta abroad, of course, and also that we could all speak together to authorities. So I'm going to welcome on the stage now Jack Cater from Privex. He's around, I think. Yes, he's there. That's cool. Stefan Secciuti Bonavita from Altaro. Okay, cool. Sorry for the name. My French accent, you know, again. Lewis Holland, that's easier, from Discount F. This one is going to be a bit tough for me. Chris Jess Peterson, is that good? Cool. From Cannonball Invest. And Chris Cave from Just Chirpa. Okay, so we have two Chris. One is Brexit Chris. Okay, he's there. Okay, cool. Okay, guys, so the first question I'm going to ask you is basically, why did you pick Malta to create your company? Because, of course, we're going to talk about what to improve in the ecosystem, etc. But the first thing is that Malta is super cool. Malta has offered us a lot.
And after around 6 months, I decided we also needed a company set up here in Malta. I had been used to that setup because I used to work with Betfair for a number of years. They really worked out well, the model between having a presence in the UK, which is commercial, but also having a hub here in Malta. What I had quickly realized that Betfair, and I've replicated at Discount If, is in Malta, you really have the work-life balance. You can work hard, but then you can switch off at the end of the day, which is really, really important for a startup.
So for you, that's the main current competitive advantage?
Yeah, so initially when I set up everything in the UK, lived in the UK for a couple of years, but after a while, working in the UK means, and living in the UK means you're working 24/7. I couldn't have that. I needed to have a bit of a balance in life. So now, fly to the UK, come back, and you have the perfect work-life balance, I think, here.
Okay.
Yeah, so I represent Altaro Software. We set up the company in 2009. We're 4 co-founders. We're all Maltese. Since 2009, we now have about 30,000 customers. We develop backup solutions for businesses. And we're currently 40 employees, 35 of whom are based in Malta. We just hired 3 employees up in the UK, hired 2 in the US. So we're starting to take international steps. The reason we chose Malta is all 4 of us, co-founders, myself, Julian, Simon, David, we're all Maltese. Our families are here, so it made sense to set up here. Having said that, I think there is something to be said about setting up in Malta. My dad joined his company that he works for when he was 17. He left when he was, well, he hasn't left, actually. He's still there. He's 68, so that's 50 years. His dad before him worked at the same company, joined when he was 17, and left when he was 68. So that's 100 years of loyalty with the same company. Now, I'm not saying that once you hire a Maltese person, they're going to bring their kids and they're going to work with you for 100 years. I mean, that's insane.
Specifically in the digital sector. Because
yeah, it's not going to happen.
We die after 3 years or we get sold.
Yeah, but there's something to be said there. I think if you look at certain ties and certain connections, if you look at family, for example, my mom lives in an apartment where on top of her mom used to live, on top of her sister, on top of her other sister. So there's a whole block where its entire family lives, and everyone else lives close by. And to Maltese, that's totally normal. If you say that to a foreigner, they think you're crazy, and in fact, what they say is you're insane. I mean, that doesn't happen abroad. But for us, it's totally normal. So there's a lot of deep-rooted family ties in Malta. And I think the same happens with friendships. I know friends since I was in kindergarten, and I'm still friends with them today. I still meet them today. We're a small island. If you're from the UK, at university, you end up leaving your hometown, you go to university, you end up going to work in London. So some of those ties get lost a little bit, or they get a bit diluted. Whereas in Malta, they're very deep-rooted, and they're very solid. And I think that there's a transference between family ties, friendship ties, and then when you arrive at work, you want those same sort of deep-rooted connections. So if we look at We have a team of 35 now. Anyone who's been with us for more than a year, none of them have left. And I don't think it's maybe we're doing anything special. I think there's a sort of mentality there that goes with that. So I think the loyalty side is quite...
Okay, family-oriented culture.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, I think
interesting.
so. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Jake?
So I'm Jack. I'm the founder of a company called HideMyAss.com, a company I started about 11 years ago this year. The reason I set it up was to give people the chance to bypass censorship on the internet. So I started quite young, and that was really just my sole motivation, doing something for a good cause. And then we got a lot of viral success. I grew the business organically without any outside investment, and grew to about 120 people. We have offices in the UK, Ukraine, and Serbia, but part of the group structure is also based in Malta. So I was coming to Malta every quarter for a few years. So I got to know the island well. Last year we sold the company to AVG, so the big sort of antivirus security company with 200 million users. So I decided to actually base myself full-time in Malta, splitting my time between Malta and the UK. It was mainly sort of lifestyle-driven as well. I married, my wife is from Peru, so the climate in London wasn't too great for her, but we live the best of both worlds, traveling between Malta and the UK. But I really think it's an interesting climate here. Startup-wise, I think it's really getting going, and we really need to make people more aware. In the rest of Europe, I was in a wedding in the weekend, and I sold Malta to a lot of people, and they were very, very fascinated and surprised. So I think we really need to get the word out.
Timing was right.
And create, the startup island,
Of course. I think we're all doing the same thing. Cool. Chris?
Okay, so I'm Brexit Chris.
Yeah.
I'm actually originally from the UK. I apologize for the decision that we all made on Friday. It's an absolute shit show.
For yesterday's night decision also. It wasn't a good one, huh?
And we're not even going to go to football. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm originally from the UK, but I actually spent most of my professional career in Asia. I'm an insurance guy. Don't yawn at the back. I'm actually trying to make insurance exciting and a friendly and engaging consumer experience with our new business, Sherpa, which we set up in Malta about 18 months ago. We chose Malta for a few reasons, some of them personal. So my wife is Maltese, so when we were looking to move back from Asia, we had a choice of London or Malta. So there were definitely some lifestyle reasons and family reasons for choosing Malta. But on the professional side, I think two things. One, we were looking at the runway for the company, and also for us personally in terms of standard of living and cost of living, and then the cost of running a startup. And those costs are a third or a quarter here than they would have been in London, and that gives us 2 or 3 more times more runway with the same amount of money. So that was really important. And then, as I mentioned, we're in insurance, so we were looking carefully at the regulatory environment. I think the regulator here is very fair and firm and strong and kind of well respected. So it's not a question of an easier regulatory approval process. It's just it's easier to approach them. It's a more engaged conversation. They really want to help you through that regulatory process. We were looking at it in the UK, and you become a sort of a number on a piece of paper and a sort of a faceless organization that's really hard to engage with. So that was a major attraction for us in the financial services world here in Malta.
Okay, cool. Thanks. So, EU Chris.
Yeah, my name is Chris. I run in Cannonball Invest, which is a self-funded investment fund. I started it 20 years ago when I was 16 and started making businesses myself. So I'm like a core entrepreneur. I have made more than 30 companies, more or less, throughout my life. And today I invest more and supervise these investments and invest in new startups and in new ideas and bright minds that can help me along to grow into the next phase. So the reason why I chose Malta was actually quite easy. I will call myself as a nomad. I lived in Singapore, I lived in Spain, I lived in most of my time in Denmark, but it wasn't really enough. I mean, Denmark is a great country, but entrepreneur-wise, in the way that they are nurturing entrepreneurs, is just not the way that the thing that I have experienced here in Malta. I mean, there's so many bright minds moving to this country at this moment. There's so many bright minds even living here, which has very, very good ideas on how to further develop tech industry, how to come up with new ideas. And the government has been very, very good at supporting these ideas and subsidizing them to grow into the next phase. So for us, it was very, very beneficial to move here. First of all, the language was an easy choice. The second was the great weather, which we can't get around. And secondly was the economic structure that helped a fund like us to choose Malta as the destination for all the current investments that we have, and even benefiting from the local community. And I think this Silicon Valletta is really a place where we can do a difference and get Malta to the next level. So that's one of the many reasons why we're here today.
Yeah. Interesting. So we have 5 gentlemen from 5 different sectors who came in Malta for different reasons. Actually, none of you have talked about what most people think about Malta when they don't know about Malta. Say, oh, people are here for tax reasons. Of course, it's one of the elements, but we have many other elements. The package that Malta is offering to startups and to the digital sector is quite amazing. And this is something this is one of the first messages that we really want to try to spread with Silicon Valletta, is that Malta is offering a lot. So guys, why have you decided to join Silicon Valletta? What was the reason? I mean, we can start from here again or wherever. I don't know.
Want to go first, Chris?
I mean, my choice was very, very easy. I mean, first of all, I was very honored to be invited to this group, but an important part is sometimes to bounce ideas with like-minded persons. I mean, I love to be with my crew and my staff and so on, but sometimes the idea when I bounce with them, it doesn't get the same return as when I'm with the like-minded persons. And I'm not trying to say that in a very insulting way or anything, but it's just that some people has a different way of thinking, and I think all the members of this group has achieved many different things in many different levels, and has great things great mind and great ideas to bounce ideas with. Okay. So it's different industries, different sectors, different backgrounds, different nationalities, and all these things combined is just such an important tool to get new ideas going, and even get some ideas taken away from the very beginning, which is important as well.
Cool. So sharing with your peers.
Sharing.
Okay, cool.
It's the key.
And brainstorming.
Yeah?
That's
and
cool.
Brainstorming.
Yeah, that's a cool one. Okay, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, I'd echo that. In the development of Sherpa, there's been a couple of what we call goosebump moments where you kind of get really, really excited, and they've actually tended to be when somebody from the outside has injected something into the business. Pete, who's somewhere in the audience, was involved in one of those moments. And so, being an entrepreneur can be quite a lonely experience because you don't have a lot of people around you, a lot of infrastructure. So finding like-minded people who are struggling with the same problems, but coming at it from different perspectives, different industries, is fantastic. So that's really, really helpful. But then also, I think, secondly, there's a sort of a broader motivation for me, which is I'm kind of, even though I'm not technically Maltese, I got married here in '98, I've been coming here for a long time, I do kind of want to contribute to the place that I've chosen to call home. I think we undersell ourselves on the global stage. I think we have a lot to offer, and this feels like a fantastic group of people to try and get the word out about how good we are, and I'm really excited to be a part of that.
Cool. Jack?
Yeah, I think we're on the, we're going to start something really big. Malta is really getting going in the startup scene. So for me, part of the motivation was, being a part of this at this time, because there are so many opportunities here. And I really think what Malta needs is the community to come together the startup community and the tech industry, especially, to really push awareness, get people together, help with networking, and also help push governments to make them aware that this isn't a little tiny industry. It could be a huge thing for the country. And at the moment, I think there's a little bit of a lack of awareness from the government, and I don't think they realize how big this could be. So that was a big motivation for me joining, as well as talking with like-minded people. There's a lot going on in London, but I live here, and it's small enough that we can really make a difference.
That's something very important. It's really the essence of what we're trying to do. Individually, we're not here just to try to grow our own brand. We're here because we want Malta to improve even better than what they're offering us, and because we want to spread it everywhere also, and that whenever we want to hire people to meet with investors, we want to be sure that they know that Malta is a great place to create a startup.
In my angle, this is slightly different. I mean, about 2 years ago, the government came out with a great initiative, and that was anyone investing in startups would get some cash back as a rebate. That's a really great initiative, because investing in a startup means that you're risking quite a lot of your money, but you're helping create jobs. If that startup is successful, that creates more jobs. It's a cycle, and it works. The problem was that they came out with an initiative. On the basis of that, last year, myself and one of the other co-founders at Altaro, we invested in a startup. 2 years down the line, the government announced it 2 years ago. We still haven't seen anything. We haven't seen any details about it. So ironically, their startup initiative followed the exact same path as most startups. Great idea, great initiative, but poor execution. So I think that's, from my end, that's kind of one of the big things, that we can be part of a group that maybe lobbies with the government to get some of this stuff done, and maybe just becomes a sounding board as well for them, so that we can help them out to get this stuff rolled out. So.
Okay, I'll say that Ben and I were very lucky because we got the money. Sorry.
I don't think so.
Lewis.
I joined for a few reasons. I mean, there's the like-minded stuff. The timing was right for me. I got back to Malta after being in the UK, so observed a lot of things happening in the UK. I blatantly think we should copy a few of them. I mean, there's nothing wrong with copying a few things that are happening in the UK, especially now. The timing is absolutely ripe. I mean, now is the time. It's not waiting until the next election happens in the UK or whatever. It's now. Now. There are a lot of people here that are coming from diverse backgrounds. That really helps. Entrepreneurs, you notice, are very persistent. We won't stop. So that's an energy that's not one. It's multiplied by 15. I think we're nearly 20 now. So it's 20 people that are really, really persistent. If the government doesn't listen to us, we'll grow to 30 people. We'll grow to 50. The more, the merrier. And I think that one force of persistent people who know what they're talking about, I think will really help. There's a lot of frustration. I mean, we're talking about the good stuff here, but there's also a bit of frustration. We feel that Malta can be agile, but is not being as agile as it should be. And that's some of the stuff that I think collectively will just punch through the wall.
Okay, we've got the energy. So now what should we ask them? What should be the first thing we'll ask the government in order to help us?
The government?
To help them, actually, yes, the government.
From my perspective, again, I'll be repeating myself, but replicate a few things that are happening in the UK. We're really, really open to talk. We like talking, most of us. We've got a lot of good ideas. Simon hears me talk every day, so that's... but yeah, we can come up with a plan. We've got a few things that we want to replicate from the UK, I think. From my perspective, there needs to be a bit of a culture adoption that's friendly towards startups. There's a lot of Maltese people who are well off, but there are not a lot of Maltese investors, and I find that really weird. When I speak to Italian entrepreneurs, I hear their own backing their own, so Italians backing their own Italian startups. When I speak to Hungarians, same thing, same with Romanians. In Malta, it's not unless the investor is your dad or your uncle. Why? Like, why? I really don't get that.
Yeah, it's very true. I mean, Ben and I raised 1.5 million euro last year, and we had to go abroad. Yes,
yeah.
Which was very frustrating for us. We lost a lot of time, energy, and we would have been very happy to be able to say to the world that we were financed by Malta also, but it was very hard for us to.
At the same time, a bit of light of fate. At the back end of last year, we did a crowdfunding raise for equity for my startup. We did it on a UK platform. However, half the investors came from Malta. They were micro-investors, but there is a shed of light there.
Cool. Cool, that's nice. I think, Chris, maybe you wanted to answer that question?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh,
Sorry.
sorry.
Chris or EU, Chris?
Let's do a common answer, okay? So let's reunite Europe. Come on, guys.
I mean, I've been here for 5 years soon, and I've seen this development in this country happen like nowhere else in the world. I mean, going into EU happening, and then all this iGaming industry starting. So in retrospect to that, I think that the government has lacking to move ahead in the same pace that companies has doing, because the industries which is moving to the island is going with 700 kilometers an hour. Obviously, the government cannot move in the same phase that we're moving, because obviously it's a political institution which has to have the voters and the backers from the communities. And I think it's not entirely the government's fault. It's maybe the lack of information from what we are doing to the population, that we need this, instead of just pointing the finger always at the political guys saying, listen, I need some regulations so I can generate 800 or 900 kilometers an hour. But if the population was aware of this, because everyone that meets me, I'm Scandinavian, so they say, are you iGaming? No, I'm actually doing something else. Interesting. So I think it's more a matter about information to the population, that way will generate our growth, and the legislations will come easier to us if we get the populations and the locals back up as well. So I think it's more like a triangle to this than just our two-way communication with the political parties and with us. So in that thing, that has to be, I mean, obviously this is a group where we can bounce this idea, and that's the whole idea is with it. But I think, as you said yourself, if the local population will see that, okay, I'm doing a clothing line here, I'm doing a tech startup, I'm doing apps, I'm doing all kinds of things. If they knew that it's not just iGaming, they might be more interesting or more willing to invest in it and be part of it and say, my uncle does this, he might be able to help you with this. I mean, then you get the backup, and obviously then you get the interest from the political parties. So I think it's a way for us to actually force or to impose some information to the population about what we're doing, why we're doing it, and in that way actually lifting up to the 700 kilometers that we like to go in all together, and then lifting the country to the next phase. Because otherwise someone is going to let behind, and that's going to create confusion and obviously some misbelief that we're only here for gaining an economic growth for ourselves, but in reality what we're doing is creating economic growth for the whole country and creating more employees, more work spaces, more ideas which is being integrated to the population. So I think there's more sides to it than just two-way communication with the government.
Definitely, very interesting. Chris?
Yeah,
Sorry.
I would agree with that. I mean, as I was thinking about this ahead of this morning, the word that I came up with was velocity, which is exactly the same concept that you're talking about, which is businesses at our stage of development need to move fast. We need to respond quickly, and it does feel like there's a sort of a one-size-fits-all model of regulation, of ETC approvals, of et cetera, which is sort of designed for the lowest common denominator. And we're all very different from Farsons and Air Malta and these bigger infrastructure organizations that the regulations and the system has been designed for. So if what we can do is create the awareness of the need for a sort of a different type of approach and a more joined up approach across government departments, across that kind of supports our types of businesses at our stages of development, that would be just an incredible win. for the development of this part of the economy. So that's what I would sort of encourage would be take a look at what we can offer and then try and create some sort of a second track, sort of two-speed type of process where there's some differentiation that allows us to move more quickly.
Okay.
No, I completely agree. We had so much trouble even opening a bank account here in Malta. Not just for me personally, but for our company. It took about a year for the company, and for me personally. Absolute nightmare with the bureaucracy. So making it easier on that front. And like Chris said, you know, the online gaming industry here is booming. The government are well aware of that. But the tech industry as a whole is far bigger than that. So if we can get some numbers, some information that way, they can't do any harm, you know.
So yeah, I think something we could work on that probably affects 80–90% of the people in the room is the corporate tax rate. So you mentioned tax. That's great for you because you come here, you set up, you pay low tax. We pay 35%. So we're competing with companies who are set up in Luxembourg, they're set up in BVI, and they pay no tax. We have to pay 35% on profit.
We have to say to people that you only get a rebate if you're an expat, basically.
Right, exactly. So I think that's a bit unfair. And like us this year, we said, as a management team, we sat down and we said, this year we're going to make big investments. We're going to invest in the UK and the US. And what did we do? We got all the profits of last year, and we invested it all into this year. But that's all our profits minus 35%. So if we had the full amount, we could invest all of it, and that will create a better company. We can hire more people locally. So I think that's a big point that at some point, as a group, that's something that we can tackle locally with the government, where local companies should be able to benefit just as much as foreign companies do when they set up here. So I think that's...
So we talked about what we could gain from Silicon Valletta. What do you think Silicon Valletta can offer to Malta? If you want to.
I think it's a few things. There's this constant thing. It's gaming, it's gaming, it's gaming. I'm coming from 10 years in gaming, so it's a bit ironic that I'm sitting here and talking against gaming, because I think there's something else. I mean, there's a whole host of people here, probably some of the best experts in online payments. We should be doing a hell of a lot more stuff around fintech, payment-related startups. We've got a lot of people who are into digital marketing, have been doing it for gaming, but why not apply yourselves to anything else? I think there's a whole host of skill sets that have been attracted here as a result of gaming and the friendly infrastructure with tax and all that regulatory stuff, but why not do something else? We need to look at the next big bang. And I think that's something that I'm really keen to push.
Okay, cool.
I think there's two angles. So on the one hand, as a group, we can help on the top end, the government, they can speak to us. We represent a good portion of startups in Malta. We have a certain number of employees. So we can be that sounding board, I think, for government entities. Maybe they don't have to go to 50 different companies and ask 50 different people about what they think about the proposal. They can come to us as one of those entities, and we can help them with that, so a sounding board. And on the other end, there's the startups, right? So we've been through the trenches. We've kind of come out on the other side. We've got the war scars. So the startups can come to us as well, and we can be that sounding board for them and help them and guide them through the stuff that they need to go through. So I think there's both sides to it.
Okay, cool.
No, I completely agree with mentoring and helping the very early stage startups, offering them advice, being the group that they can easily come to, and becoming very accessible ourselves to people interested in it, because they may have not been motivated to do so in Malta, because there hasn't been really anywhere you can go to in recent years. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were talking about this a little bit earlier. I think there's a massive ambassadorial role that we can play as a group. I'd love to be asked, go and jump on a plane and attend XYZ conference and represent Malta there, or just over the last 4 days, we've had massive turmoil in the UK. I'm hoping that the government and the opposition are kind of mobilizing to take advantage of that, pick up the phone, speak to us, find out which of the members of Silicon Valletta would be most helpful, send us on a delegation. I think, we're not political. We're business-minded, we're economics-minded, and we're here to help promote Malta abroad, so use us.
Exactly.
100%. I see this group as a hybrid of promoting Malta abroad and helping locally. And I mean, helping out the new startups, the new entrepreneurs which is coming up with ideas. I would love to have like a scene where they come and present their projects, and you know, you can pitch to them, you can even invest in them. I mean, help them in so many different small levels where they just nurture them to get to the next level, because it's always about, you know, giving them the confidence to just do it and get to the next level. And it's quite easy actually, because we all, I mean, quite happy, jolly guys, you know. We would love to help them and integrate with them in any ways we could. And especially if we're promoting Malta abroad with Silicon Valletta, I think definitely that there's loads of potential, because we travel, first of all, a lot, which is one of the great things that we spoke about, having some roll-up banners that wherever we are, just on the side of one promotions that we're doing, just roll it up, that we're part of this. It's just going to create awareness, and the more of these things is happening around Europe for all fairs, conferences, so on, that's just going to create the buzz and even enhance the place, and hopefully our group can grow and grow and grow and have more political influence and helping out more startups to break it to the next level.
Super, very stimulating. Thank you very much, guys, for your time, for your passion. If any one of you want to have some more information about Silicon Valletta, Chris Knight is sitting right here from Brandwagon. He's one of the pillars of Silicon Valletta. So please come to him. He'll be able to answer any question. Otherwise, of course, we're also here. Thank you very much.